Now, as this code gets longer, it doesn't really feel right to keep it inside the loading screen anymore. So let's refactor it and try to move our location getting code into a separate class. And I'd like you to do that as a challenge. I'd like you to refactor this code so that all the logic of getting the current location will be handled by a dedicated location object. This means creating a separate location class in the location.dart file. This class needs to have two properties, a latitude and a longitude. It also needs to have a method called getCurrentLocation. This is where you'll need to move the try-catch block from the loading screen. Back in the loading screen, update the getLocation method so that you create a new location object. You call the getCurrentLocation method and then you print the value stored inside the latitude and longitude. This challenge will test your understanding of async and await, so keep those principles in mind. I'll give you a few seconds to pause the video before I walk you through the solution. Okay, ready? Here's the solution. The first step is creating a new class in the location.dart file called location. And this location class is going to have two properties. It's going to hold on to a latitude and also a longitude. Now, they're both going to be doubles because that's the output from our geolocator. When we do position.latitude or position.longitude, the data type will be a double. So now let's go ahead and create a class method and we'll call it getCurrentLocation. And this is not going to take any inputs, but it is going to use that geolocator package. So let's go ahead and cut our try-catch block out of our getLocation method and instead paste it into this getCurrentLocation method. We're again going to use the geolocator to get the current position. Now, of course, we need that await keyword, so we have to mark this as async so that we can wait for the current position to be found before we return it as the output of this method. And instead of printing the position, we're going to assign the position.latitude and position.longitude to these two properties. So we're going to say latitude is now going to be equal to position.latitude, and the longitude is going to be now equal to position.longitude. So now when we call getCurrentLocation, it should try to wait to get the current location and then assign those values to our latitude and longitude. Going back to our loading screen inside getLocation, we should be able to tap into that file by importing our services folder, and then we're going to search for our location.dart file. So that's the full path to this file. And then we're going to create a new location object, which we'll just call location. And we're going to set it to equal a new location object. And once we've initialized that location object, we're going to say location.getCurrentLocation. Now, remember, if we want to use the result of the location.latitude or location.longitude, which comes from this location object, we have to wait for this getCurrentLocation to complete. So ideally, we want to be able to mark this as a wait. But remember that we can only wait on methods that return futures. So over here, instead of just returning a void, let's return a future void instead. And this way, if we head back to our loading screen, you can see we can now wait on this to complete before we start tapping into the location.latitude or location.longitude. And it's only by waiting for this method to complete can we reliably actually get access to the latitude and longitude. So now let's hit run and see our code in action. So you can see we're able to tap into the latitude and longitude in our loading screen.dart, even though the location code is actually all located inside a separate file, the location.dart file. Now, Asynchronous programming is notoriously hard in any programming language, not just Dart. So if this was still confusing, I recommend heading back into the lesson where we covered async and await and just watching it again, maybe on double speed, just to make sure that you're revisiting those concepts again. It might take a couple of tries before all the pieces start coming together and it starts making sense. But if all of that was easy, then we're going to continue ahead to making API calls and actually using these latitude and longitudes to get the weather for our current location. So for all of that and more, I'll see you on the next lesson.